Celtics are up 1-0 in the NBA Finals. 3 wins to go. All of the post-game coverage and hype has simmered down, which means it's time for Celtics Late Night alongside me, Jake Eisenberg. Jake, how we doing, man?
We are doing good. We are doing great. I mean, 1-0 in the NBA Finals. The Boston Celtics are completely healthy. This is all we could possibly ask for, right? This is it. Kristaps Porzingis is back. Jaylen Brown, he's fucking ready to go. Sam Hauser's back.
He is.
Luka Dončić, Kyrie Irving shook. The hat is we're 8 straight with the fucking bucket hat. We got the fireball tee. We're fucking going here.
National media absolutely shook and in shambles after 10 days of just simmering bullshit right out of their eyeballs and mouth holes into our ear holes. And
so
finally,
much.
A chance to punch back with some real data, some real basketball. The Celtics now 13-2 in the playoffs, 8 wins in a row. Like you said, Jake, with the hat there, you love to see it. So much to get to.
Oh, yeah.
The Celtics defense was so solid in this game. They seem to execute their defensive game plan super well. Jaylen Brown, incredible.
Perfection.
Jayson Tatum, solid despite some poor shooting numbers and higher turnovers, which we'll get to. But for the most part, very solid. We got a lot from our role players, our depth. But Jake, Kristaps Porzingis.
Yeah.
Is it fair to say that we got everything we could have possibly hoped for from the Latvian Moses tonight?
Dude, when we're just waiting around day after day after day, no updates, we're like, please, we know. You almost forget what this guy can do. And this is why, when he hurt himself, we kind of freaked out. And this is why we were obsessing day after day after day about how he's going. We're zip-rootering every little piece of footage we have because he can come out and dominate, and especially dominate in this matchup. He can come out in the first quarter and go 4 for 5, 11 points, 3 rebounds, 2 blocks, and just inject so much juice into the TD Garden in a way that we have not seen so far. We got the plays running here in the first quarter. He got fouled by Luka Dončić at first to get himself to the free throw line. That was the first one. We didn't love that first possession. Gets to the post up on Jaden Hardy. Jaden Hardy tries to defend with his face. Doesn't work. Cooks Derek Lively on a fake handoff with the left hand. Monster dunk. And the Celtics go up 8 in the first quarter here. And we're like, okay, now we're looking good. Yeah. And it was just didn't stop.
It was one thing to see him like controlled out of the post offensively when the game kind of slowed down and he could take his time getting to his looks and just using his height and his weight. But defensively, being as spry as he was to hold up pretty well in drop coverage, to get back and like block and defend at the rim multiple times and once in transition as well. I forget who he had that block on, but it was a spicy number there and not typical of someone who is struggling coming back with some sort of soft tissue injury. So that was really promising. And then beyond that, we got to limit him to minutes-wise just over 20 minutes. Al Horford still played under 30 minutes himself. And this is what we were talking about. Coming back with KP coming back into the game is like maybe the number one benefit might just be a reduced minutes load on Al Horford, which we got. But it's hard to say that the number one benefit wasn't just KP just absolutely coming out and fucking cooking on both ends, Jake. It was amazing to see.
Dude, the block on Kyrie on the baseline there and then getting out in the other end and Sammy Buckets.
Yeah.
Sammy Buckets hitting it on the other end. So good to see.
Yeah. We need to spend more time on KP. He had a quote after the game saying, tonight was an affirmation to myself that I am pretty good and I can definitely add to this team, which is a very
He is pretty good. We got it, dude. We got the winks. We've been calling KP a winker and he was winking out there tonight. Man, this like you can't draw it up any better, man. And I feel a little vindicated. I was like, I was lampooned that I dare suggest that KP be brought off the bench in the first of the 4 Discord. And hey, you let the game kind of settle in just a little bit, let the juices flow. And strategically, the way that the Mavs are playing, for whatever reason, they are bringing Lively off the bench, who is the better player than Gafford. I think that's to do with just like when the Mavs got rolling, it just happened to coincide with Gafford starting, and they're like, "Why would you mess with a good thing?" Wouldn't shock me if Lively starts in the next game. Mm-hmm. But so as soon as Lively came in, KP came in, and they matched those minutes with KP, which I think makes a lot of sense because just considering the size of Lively, you're trying to limit those lobs. And he comes out. The defense was the biggest question for me. Can you come in? Can you move your feet? Can you play in the drop coverage? Can you handle Kyrie on a switch and block his shot and get the rebound? Like, there was several times where I'm just like, okay, is he okay? Okay, he's playing awesome. Are we gonna have like a Time Lord? Like, how many times did Rob Williams come back and it's like, oh my God, he looks great, and then he's walking to the locker room? It's like, can we? As soon as he looked awesome in that first quarter, we got 17 in the first quarter, thanks purely to KP. He has that monster block on Josh Green in transition, all in the first quarter, and I'm like, okay, we've got this 17-point lead. Like, it's hard to come back from 17 points down in any game. Can we just get out of this game with a W without KP aggravating this calf? Because every day that he gets away from that injury, as you ramp up in a game like this, it's going to bring him closer and closer to that like fabled 100%. So now you play 20 minutes, perfect amount of time, defense, offense, post-ups, popping for three, switching, playing drop coverage, 2 days off, breathe, recover, cold tub. Massage. Do you need to fly me into massage? What do you need? I'm here for you.
Do you need a calf donation? I'll send both. Clearly we don't, though, because it's like you said, what a productive 20 minutes and what a productive 37 days or whatever it is that he was off, because you get the full recovery, you get the win in game 1 of the motherfucking NBA Finals, and it adds to your conditioning and your ramp up, as you're saying, Jake. So like, you could not ask for a better, more productive time on the floor for KP, and now those 2 days very crucial. This tweet from Taylor Snow just coming out: all-time NBA Finals leaders in points per minute with a minimum 20 minutes played. Number 1, Kristaps Porzingis, 0.97 points per minute, and below him, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Rick Barry, Luka Dončić, and Michael Jordan. So pretty good little stat there for KP.
If you had to pick the Finals MVP after Game 1, it might be Jaylen Brown, but it's Kristaps Porzingis has a case here. But man, I don't know. Maybe we win this title, we come back next year. I think we just rest KP to the finals again. This is a great strategy by the Boston Celtics. Was just like, all right, you're out. You're not coming back until the finals.
Yeah, hang out in Latvia with Pete or wherever you like to be. I'll happily help supplement his salary in whatever way. We'll crowdfund some of his salary to make it easier for Wick and the boys there. Defensively, we saw KP and Horford start off on PJ Washington and Derek Jones Jr. And initially, you're thinking, okay, great, this is awesome. Like, kind of hide them on those lesser offensive players, but the Mavs and Luka so sophisticated in like setting those double drag screens, and just like, doesn't matter where you put these guys, we're going to set multiple screens. We're going to get the switch we want. And you mentioned it, KP held up defensively in drop. Like he always has looked a little bit gangly, a little bit uncoordinated, backpedaling and drop there. But it's just so fucking big, Jake. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
and
man.
He just puts his hands up, and he was such a deterrent at the rim. And this has been an incredible playoff run. We've had a lot of fun. Second half of the Heat series, all through the Cavs and Indy series. Man, did we miss that? Like, I know we can't do better than sweeping Indiana, but what would have looked like with KP on the court just with that rim deterrence? It's insane.
I know we went 12-2. It's like, would we probably just still go 12-2 without with KP? The difference is the Pacers series. The games are probably not quite as close. But yeah, man, the defense is probably like, that's the number one takeaway from me. And like, we've had so much time off before the series. Like, I put out a tweet of like all of the different, experts with all the different picks in all the different content they listen to. I had 45 different analysts. Part of that, shout out to Steven specifically for some help on some of the analysts and their picks, but 45 different podcasts or analysts. It ends up 24-21 Celtics Mavs. But if you filter out ESPN/FS1, it's 14-6 Mavs. But my point is, we had so much time to fucking analyze this thing. Rarely do you get this much time in an NBA season to break down like the X's and the O's, and I'm never gonna, crown myself as like a X's and O's guy, but like this is as granular as I've ever gotten in a specific matchup just because of the time off. And like everything that you talked about from a Celtics perspective, or everything you were worried about from a Mavs perspective came to fruition. What's the game plan? We're going to try and get Luka Dončić to take as many tough twos as we can. We're going to shut down the lobs. Priority number one, shut down the lobs. Derek Lively had one field goal attempt. We're going to cut down the corner threes. There were no corner threes. We want PJ Washington, Derek Jones Jr. taking above the break threes. That was the only 3-point attempts that they took. And then can you take Kyrie out of his shit just by being incredible at guarding your yard? And yes, Kyrie missed a couple of open shots, but that's what happens when you get him discombobulated. He fell down multiple times. He had an air ball that led to a Gafford dunk, which makes up of the Gafford 3 for 3. So like on that end, exactly what we talked about, exactly how you drew it up. Perfect. And on the other end, it was exactly the same. How do they guard when they've got 5 out spacing? How are you guarding when you've got not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4 guys that can create off the dribble, create their own shot? Not a Timberwolves situation where there is an Anthony Edwards and no one else. Not an Oklahoma City situation where it's just SGA and there's no other threats. There's no Josh Giddey. There's no Gobert. Which reminds me, someone articulated this mindset way better than I did. And you guys may recognize these two guys right here.
Nah, homie. This ain't that. Whatever that was over there in Minnesota, wherever that was over in LA, whatever that was over in Oklahoma City, that ain't over here. And got to establish that.
Yeah, from the get.
From the get.
I think they did establish
From the
that.
get. From the get.
Yeah.
I never felt cooler in my life.
yeah, that's awesome. Love that they're on our side. It did take us a little while to penetrate and manufacture those kick out opportunities, but once we started to turn that corner and get down a little bit, they had no choice but to collapse. And we're hitting threes. We hit 47.6% of our 38% of our threes. Oh man, I'm looking at the wrong part of the box.
38%.
38%, which is pretty damn good, but like not unsustainable.
But it's not.
Like we can definitely maintain that or close to it. And it's not like if you drop it down 1 or 2 percentage points, it's not like it's not still a fairly dominant win for the Celtics there. That's my greeny math. I have no way to validate
No, absolutely.
on the spot here.
Absolutely. The greeny math?
Well, yeah, that's right. Yeah, the very inaccurate greeny math, but it's got the right vibes behind it, right, pushing it through. So we accept it here on first of the floor. But yeah, man, once we started getting downhill and getting our shoulders around those defenders and collapsing their defense, it was pretty easy from that point onwards. And you saw guys like Derek White coming out hot from 3 and starting to really break down the defense and force them to make tough decisions on the fly there, which was great. Defensively for us, the Mavs, I was told in the 10 days leading up to this series that they were going to break us down by collapsing our defense, kicking out to the corners, and killing us with corner threes, and also lob threats as well. The fact that we'd have to come off that dunker spot defender, bring a second defender to Luka once he got his defender on his hip, and give up that lob pass. In this game, the Mavs had 3 corner 3-point attempts all game. And I think I had to count these manually, 3 lob attempts as well, one of which was successful and 2 were very much unsuccessful in this one. So we took and identified the most potent part of their offense, aside from Luka and ISO, of course, and just completely shut that down, which is a huge story, I think, for the Celtics defensively, Jake.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And like you want to play some, some greeny math games here. It's like, okay, because I saw Claire DeLune, I don't know, it's one of my favorite Flight Facilities songs, but she's an NBA person on Twitter, and she was like, even if Kyrie had made half his shots or whatever, and I was like, if Kyrie makes half his shots, they still lose by double digits. And
yeah,
I was like, she has since deleted that tweet. She said, you seem fun. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? I am fun. Thank you for It's the finals, dude. Don't be spewing this nonsense around this time of year. But I was listening to Pod Maverick before. I was listening to Pod Maverick before, and they're like, if they shoot a little bit better from three, but then they're like, it wasn't even necessarily percentage. It was the volume, and that speaks to the defensive execution, the defensive game plan. So they shot 7 for 27 from three. If they go 10 for 27 from three, that's 37%, which is a really, really good clip in a game. That gets you 9 more points. That means you just lost by 12 or whatever it is by the end of the end score. I don't know how much we won by. It was a lot. 19. So it's like, sure, Kyrie goes 8 for 19 and goes 2 for 5 from three. Like, you can play that game. Luka Dončić needs to be elite from three, but like, he was 4 for 12. If he goes 5 for 12, then he ends up being 42%. So it's like, they didn't have an awful shooting game because they didn't have a ton of volume. When your volume is low, the swings in percentage, can be misleading. It's about those attempts. The Celtics got up 42. We played our style of game. We put our imprint. We played our style. We forced them to adjust to us. One of the most insane things that happened that I didn't see coming this quickly was in the first half, the entire strength, the entire identity of the Dallas Mavericks through this entire playoff run has been the strength of Lively and Gafford. That's been the whole identity, the strength of their whole team. Both of them benched in the first half. It was like, maybe they go to Maxey and Lively or something like that. Maybe they go to Maxey and a zone. They try and switch everything. That's like if things aren't working into games 2, games 3, they went to that in the first half. Zone, switch everything with Maxi Kleber, who like has a giant wrap on his right shoulder and refused to shoot. Like, that was a massive win for the Celtics, and I thought like a really bad sign for the Mavs, because it's like, I've talked about the mental alphaness of Joe Mazzulla and the belief in his system and the belief in the math, and the Mavericks blinked first. Oh wow, there's a comment in the chat that right on point, T. The Mavericks blinked first.
Absolutely. You love to see it. We made Derek Lively look like a rookie in this game as well, because where we did start to struggle was early in that third quarter. Clearly the assignment for Lively was like, get on KP, make life difficult for him. You see him, he started to push him over. KP could barely like get himself positioned, let alone catch the ball or do anything of any way of productivity. And then unfortunately for Derek Lively, he started to rack up a whole bunch of fouls, and this is where we started to get into his rookie mind a little bit, and we sort of overcame that stretch. I know it got down to 8, but Derek Lively racks up his 5th foul late in the third quarter there. He has to go to the bench. And then Gafford just doesn't have the same sort of dynamic capacity on either end of the floor. And it was kind of curtains at that point for the Mavs. And then, of course, that allows KP to cook a little bit more. Al comes in. He hasn't got the young Lively on him. He's got a little bit more room to operate as well. And it was just really cool to see the Celtics endure that stretch. And getting on top of the Lively factor there was a huge element in turning the game around there, where things did get a little bit dicey.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Like that little stretch, like we're up here and we're living life, right? But the sphincters had tightened.
It was tight.
The sphincters,
it was so tight.
We were staring down the barrel of the most disastrous 2 days. We weren't really staring down the barrel. It got down to an 8-point lead, 29-point lead. Mavs go on this run to end the half, 7-0 run in particular to close the half, and we're like, that's kind of a disaster. The game goes from like feeling like it's over to like cracking the door open, and the door gets pushed open a little bit more. But like this, like you almost got away with it. Similar to the Pacers series, it's like this is different. Like the Pacers game 1 should have been a loss. They won it, but it's like you learned the lessons of a loss in a win. Did they learn some lessons again in a win that they can carry over to game 2, bring the necessary intensity? Because they came out in the third quarter they just couldn't find the zip, the flow, the juice. And then Jaylen Brown brought it back. But like to see them respond like that, and for us to like obviously just win the fucking game. But like how many times we talked about the most important thing this year is this team being different. This team last year, Spoonie said it earlier today, maybe they win the game, but this game becomes a tie game at some point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. Yeah, interesting. That's the part of the game I want to watch the most, and I'm going to sit down and watch the full thing after we're done here, is that early third quarter stretch, because I want to try and quantify in my mind exactly what went wrong there. Was it just the Celtics coming out without the necessary enthusiasm, or was it something strategically that the Mavs were doing, or probably most likely a combination of the two? But that's the juncture of the game moving forward and talking about adjustments and podcasts that we'll do in the next couple of days. That's the part that I'm specifically interested in. We've got to talk about Jaylen Brown, man, who was fucking awesome. Like we don't have the tracking data yet, but what did you think as Jaylen as the primary defender on Luka?
Perfect. Everything I thought about Jaylen Brown coming to this series came true tonight. Like, man, those underwater workouts, you can't design a better, like, maybe you wish he was an inch taller, but like, this dude is built to defend Luka Dončić as well as anyone. Oh, that was the perfect play, man. In the first quarter, early in the game, he shot the gap in the screen, and Luka Dončić crashed into that chiseled 239-pound physique, and Luka Dončić went falling to the ground, and Jaylen hits a tomahawk slam back down the other end. Like, he just kept fighting. Like, so much. Like, all this team has to do, man. Oh, man, we're watching the highlights if you're not watching on YouTube right now. And Jaylen Brown just crossing Luka Dončić up, coming off the screen, and then yamming over Gafford. Just unbelievable, man. Like, this is the evolution of Jaylen Brown. Oh, man, over Kyrie.
He looked like a leader of men out there, you know, and we talk about all the time the key differences between last year's team and this one, or the key differences between the 2022 finals run and this one. And JB's mentioned it himself in his various, you know, interviews leading into these finals, just his maturity and growth leading up to this matchup. And he was the alpha out there all night. I think that was pretty clear on both ends. It felt like he was the biggest, like, impact player, the biggest ball knower, the biggest, like, had possessed the biggest awareness of, like, what championship basketball felt like and meant of all players out there. And he's sharing the court with guys like Kyrie Irving, who has a title, with Drew Holiday, who has a title. But JB, in this block on the rim here at against Derek Jones,
biggest nuts,
fucking incredible. The biggest everything.
The biggest nuts.
He was incredible. He said
biggest everything.
Quote, when they cut it to 8, that's when the game started, and he liked how the Celtics responded in that moment. That's just some championship quote shit, man. He was just fucking awesome. And then in the third quarter, his drives and, like, getting to the free throw line and actually being super aggressive and physical against that sort of turned up Dallas defense, I thought was critical in digging us out of that, you know, when it got down to 8 points or whatever it was. Jaylen Brown and Drew, who had some timely free throws during that stretch, absolutely essential at that part of the game. So just an end-to-end incredible performance from JB. You love to see it.
Jaylen Brown. And, like, this Celtics team, Jaylen Brown, he's been so good all playoffs long. And it's just like, you know, the box score doesn't jump off the page, you know, like 22 points, 7 for 12, like not a ton of attempts, but the defense was unbelievable. Spoonie halfway through the game was like, is this the best defensive game like Jaylen's played? Like, is it up there?
Yeah.
By the end of the game, it was like, this is the best game that Jaylen Brown's played on the defensive end, and it's not close.
Yeah, and it wasn't even necessarily the box score stuff. Like, obviously 3 steals, 3 blocks, you know, only two turnovers as well, which just makes it even sexier. But it was just his positioning, his screen navigation, his funneling Luka Dončić or Kyrie Irving into our paint defense and just controlling their tempo and their direction in that sense. It was like subtle depoy shit, Jake. It was awesome. And I'm getting emotional here, man. Like, to see him control the game to that high degree, to that, like, elite ball knowing level in the finals, the pursuit of Banner 18, like, you just love to see it. The evolution of Jaylen Brown, you know, feels like he was just drafted yesterday, man. And now we're seeing him play at this elite level, 27 years old. It's amazing.
You just pulled this memory out of my brain that I had not thought of in a long time. It was Tatum's rookie year, Jaylen's second year. They're going on this run. That's probably, like, that Jaylen's second year, one of Jaylen's best defensive season, like that year when they were just all bought in. They were all on the same page. They were just like chip on their shoulder, no expectations, just like playing the underdog, scrappy every single night. And I remember I was out one night drinking with some friends, got off the bus, and on the walk home, I had a flask of Jack Daniels still, and I had to walk so far because the buses had like ended to a certain point, so I had to walk like 45 minutes home, and I'm like I like chucked a Celtics podcast on and just like had the flask on, and I remember writing in my notes like, why can't Jaylen Brown be a 10-time all defense player? This is back in 20s, like before I'd really like dove into like being a basketball content person. Like, I was like purely just like, and also I was a million drinks deep at that point, thinking about Jaylen Brown coming off of like a great defensive game back then. But like you see it tonight, and like he's always had the tools. He's like, and you add the mentality to the tools, and like if he just all defense is kind of a reputation award. Like Drew Holiday, awesome. Like a lot of all defensive awards, defensive reputations just like carry. And so like Jaylen Brown's still kind of fighting off deserved poor defensive reputation relative to kind of like how good he should be. And to see him like now go the complete other direction, be a guy that you can just like put on Luka Dončić or Dame Lillard, you name the guy all season long, all through the playoffs. And to be the head of the snake tonight, him and Joe Mazzulla, man, like as far as mentality for this team, like they're locked the fuck in.
Yeah, there were glimpses of it early, like even in Jaylen Brown's rookie season in those 2016, 2017 playoffs where we had that pretty deep run with the Isaiah Thomas-led team. He often was thrown at like the most athletic, most talented wing on the opposition and did fairly well. This is flat top, like short shorts, rookie Jaylen Brown, and he showed these really good defensive glimpses, but it was back when, he would frequently get cut backdoor. That's happened a lot up until the last like year or so, to be honest. But he obviously had a lot of sort of mentality flaws in his defensive approach, but the physicality and the tenacity was there, and now he's completely put the whole package together. And then the added leadership, which I thought that was the aspect I wasn't sure if that would come, and especially with Marcus Smart shipped out at the beginning of this year, and the leadership has just trickled in nicely over all the other capabilities that he's exhibited for years now. And it's just like this fucking perfect package, man. You love to see it. Look, we could probably talk about Jaylen Brown for the rest of the night. I do want to run that dunk on Gafford with sound very quickly because like this is the finals. This is an epic play. It gets the crowd going. And in any sort of vacuum, it's just an awesome athletic feat on its own.
An acquisition from Charlotte. He's been their third leading scorer in the playoffs. What a season he's had. Brown goes inside. Oh, what a slam from Jaylen Brown.
Yes, the finish was nice, but the tween cross to get the separation. Flush it, Mr. Brown.
So
it's the
sick.
NBA Finals. That's through Kyrie on Gafford. Like real sense
dude.
for the moment. Middle of a run. Oh, you just love to see it, man.
So
It's
sick.
good.
So sick, dude. That's a moment, man. Like, you got Breen on the call. Jaylen Brown throws it down.
Yeah,
It's
hell yeah,
just
dude.
like, come on, dude. It's awesome.
Where do you want to go next? Like, obviously got a bunch of dot points and names to throw at you, but where do you want to take this next?
Yeah, it's good. You know what? This is a random one. We can go anywhere. Take me wherever you want, Ben. But Sam Hauser.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Sam Hauser.
Yeah.
Sam Hauser.
Is he back?
Like,
3 or 4 from the field? 2 of 2
Bro.
from 3? Good defense?
bro, let me show you this.
Poke the
Did I
ball loose
fucking
from Luka?
Look at this, dude. The no dip from Drew. This man is back, dude. Like
Please.
it worked. The plan that he executed to get as drunk as humanly possible after they won the Eastern Conference Finals and black out the rest of that series absolutely worked because he woke up the next day and was like, yeah, I'm a bad motherfucker. I shoot this thing.
Yeah.
He had 2 monster threes, dude. Like, how many did he have? So he was 3 for 4, 2 for 2 from 3. He had the KP has that block on the one end, and I mean, I didn't think he should have taken that thing in the opposite corner, like in front of the Celtics bench, like contest, but fade into the corner. I'm so glad that he did take it because it went in, and like the confidence to take it is like the most important thing. And then to take that no dip 3, because that changes the calculus for the defense. If he's not going to, like, they know what type of shooter he is for his career. I've said it a million times. He's an 8-year sample size, 43% catch and shoot guy. Yeah, he's been YouTubing himself, dude.
Yeah,
he's been
that's
watching
right.
First to the
Legend.
Floor and getting the AI segments of like us talking about Sam Hauser cooking. And he just believed in himself. Because like if he's going to go like that, he's going to hit shots like that, then they have to guard him. They have to respect the shit out of him, dude, because you're going to leave that guy open when he's on a heater. All we need is a 4-game heater, and this series is over, dude. You're going to leave him open while you can't contain the Jays? This dude's going to go 4 for 5 from 3, and the game's over, dude. Huge to see the bench, man, because you don't need a ton with KP healthy. You have one more guy or two more guys like Pritchard and Hauser round out your rotation like that. And then he held up defensively, dude. Held up defensively over and over and over again.
Yeah, that's my main takeaway. As soon as he came in, Luka was like, come here, Sammy Buckets, come here. It's like, I'm going to call up your guy to set a screen. And immediately went at Sam Hauser. And he might have got cooked once or twice, but percentage-wise, I feel like he held up 90% of the time on those matchups. And Luka does not yet know the ways of the house trap, Jake. And at one point, Hauser even poked the ball away from him. I think someone else dived on it statistically, like to get the steal attributed to them, but it was all Sammy Hauser forcing the turnover. Shout out to everyone in the chat here as the comments flow in. Just to deviate quickly, as I mentioned in the chat, please hit that like button. Please subscribe.
Please subscribe.
Live
get
pretty
in there.
much every day for the last several years, but certainly through this final series. And if we win the title, it's going to be Party Central live on this channel every day, deep into
my
August,
God,
I
dude.
think.
Please.
Including our Vegas trip for Summer League. So subscribe
Please,
and
dude.
like for good times, because I think the good times are coming based on what we saw tonight.
Please.
But Hauser, man, just such a relief, because I know it wasn't going down for Peyton Pritchard tonight, but for Hauser to get his shot back and to hold up defensively. It's that sneaky, like, Heat style, undrafted, low salary player. Like, when are we going to get our own one of those? And we had one with Hauser, and then he kind of disappeared from the playoffs thus far. And now he's back in the fucking NBA finals, exactly, and right where we need him. So good.
And right where we need him to. We don't need you to make shots in the conference finals. Do we need you to make shots in the finals? It's huge, man. And that belief, we've seen it, man. All you need is a few games. And like, this guy is again 8-year, like, he was born to shoot the ball. And so for him to get the confidence back in game 1 in that type of environment is so huge to carry you through the series, man. And to just be able to contain you a little bit. And like Luka isoing Hauser, that's like, he's going to get beaten, obviously. But, like, that's kind of the type of matchup that you'd rather him guarding Luka than Kyrie. But, like, even Kyrie kind of held up. But, like, he can guard. Like, he's similar to Luka guarding the Jays. It's like Luka's not a super quick guy. He uses his body to get past guys. And so for him to be able to hold up, how many minutes they end up playing tonight? Obviously, some of that was garbage time. But, yeah, 16 minutes. Man, this is such a beautiful box score. There's one guy who we haven't talked about yet, whose box score doesn't send me from 6 to midnight. But other than that, man, this is a pretty impeccable box score.
Yeah, I know. I was gonna say it was Peyton Pritchard, and then try and thread in some PP analogies in there as well. But like Pritchard, just quickly, we don't have to spend much time on him, but he held up really defensively, and specifically on Kyrie, where he stuck on Kyrie's hip on 1 or 2 drives to the hoop and completely deterred his shot or lob throwing ability as well. I think in that sort of in that vacuum, that small assignment for Peyton Pritchard, he was really effective as well. Yeah, the dabs are up from Jake. Jayson Tatum, I suppose, is where we should go next, who, I'll just say it, like, his inefficiency and his box score stats here are a clear symptom or outcome of the way that the Mavs and most opponents choose to defend him. And the type of player that Jayson Tatum, I want to be careful not to make too many excuses for him. And yes, he probably should choose his shots more carefully. He actually did shoot quite well from 3 in this game, but you just watch the defense and the way that they surround him and suffocate him whenever he tries to make a move. It's just so much harder for him. There's so much less room to maneuver than for anyone else. And you have to remember the main reason that everyone else has the ability to cook as much as they do and the room to maneuver as much as they have is because of the way that defenses are looking at Jayson Tatum. And then you look at the lack of efficiency from shooting and you think, okay, like, we're getting so much from the attention that he draws. I can kind of live with the shooting inefficiencies. And then meanwhile, if he just dials up that efficiency a little bit, like if he goes 8 for 16 instead of 6 for 16.
Yeah.
2 more made shots. Suddenly he's 50% from the floor. Suddenly he's way more efficient, and then it's going to be a short series in that case. So I think it was kind of a sneaky good game from Tatum. Do you think that's fair?
Yes, sneaky good, not great game. That's okay. Sure. But here's the thing. He is the straw that stirs the drink. And I haven't had a chance to catch the post-game press conference from Tatum yet, but I heard someone saying that Tatum said that he was a little nervous early, and you could definitely feel that in the first quarter, I thought. Like a little jittery, like a couple of errant passes, losing the hands a little bit. Like of those 6 turnovers, 3 of them came in the first quarter. So like that, settle down. If you have 3, like he's going to have a ton of usage. So if you can just get that turnover number back down to 3, that's totally fine. It's kind of funny. This is kind of like a replica of one of his box scores from the finals in 2022. 37% from the field, 43% from 3, good rebounding numbers, good assist numbers, and bad turnover numbers. So, but the difference is we have eyeballs, and like the way that he is attacking and finding the right guy, that's the most important thing. And I understand for Tatum, like how it could be really difficult mentally because he is the best player. He is the guy. Everybody in the fucking mainstream media wants him to be Luka Dončić. I've talked about a ton and Eric Weiss brought this to my attention about how he's been miscast as like this apex scoring wing playmaker, predator, LeBron, Luka guy. He's not that, but he's our best version. He's our best initiator. He's our best scorer, like who can deal with this type of attention. So can he keep trusting the pass? Because if he just trusts the pass, trusts that making the right play is the right thing to do, then the offense looks like it did tonight. And it can look even better because he missed a couple of passes, he forced a couple of moments. And I get trying to force himself, trying to get a shot up at the rim, like trying to get a shot up. Like I want to get myself going as well. I understand that. It's going to come. Keep making the right play because he's beating. And that's the thing in the third quarter where the Celtics struggled. It wasn't just Jayson, but like the Mavs have a good defense. It's like, can you keep beating your guy off the dribble and make the right play? And they're good enough to contain you initially. But can you like take that first bump, come back out, or take the second bump and then get past him? Because when he really was intent on getting past the initial defender, he got there, both Jaylen and Jayson. Jaylen also made some great plays tonight. Mm-hmm. Just believe in your ability to get past the first defender, make the right rim read, and then the game's over.
Yeah, you've got to imagine he'll fall into a better rhythm in the second game, especially now that he's sort of seen, at least at a base level, what that Mavs defense looks like to go up against and the opportunities that it affords him. We had 12 turnovers as a team in this game, 6 of them from JT.
It's good.
Some of them were just like, shit, whoops, I lost the ball off my foot, or I threw it out of bounds instead of directly to the corner, and atypical pass attempts from Jayson Tatum. So I don't expect that to hold. There's that comment again. Mavs blinked first. Absolutely. Yeah. But yeah, some atypical maneuvers there from Jayson Tatum that I don't expect to hold throughout the duration of the series. And yet, like, some very impactful moments. I was listening to a podcast recently where they described, it might have been Derek Lively, as a one-man zone defense. And I was like, that's fucking Jayson Tatum that they're talking about. And like, you can definitely paint Jayson Tatum with that brush as well. And him operating at his floor, worst case is like he's shutting down an entire quadrant of a team's half-court offense. And, during his worst stretches tonight, he was still holding up on that front. And at this point, deep into the playoffs, finals basketball, where things slow down as much as they do, to have a guy who can he's so big, so lengthy, who can just stick his massive fucking limbs out and just completely shut down one or two players that are entering his zone, it's so incredibly impactful. And the fact that he can at least operate at that level is just a huge advantage for us. So he will be better, and he will maintain that minimal floor as well. So I don't really have any concerns about Jayson Tatum, at least in the vacuum of this series.
No, you're absolutely right. Like, and impact, that's the word. Like, he is kind of a confounding player in some ways because, like, unless you're someone who's watching night in, night out and really, like, locking into what you're watching, like, I can understand the perspective of some being like, fucking JT, 6 for 16, 6 turnovers. Here we go again. His team's his superstar cast carrying him, right? But, like, the first half was when the Celtics built this lead, right? Like, this is when the game was won, was in the first half when they built that monster lead. He was a team high plus 21. Ends up being like a plus 19 on the game, and Drew Holiday ends up being a plus 20 for the team high. But that first half, team high as the plus 21. And that's just been the case his entire career, his entire playoffs. The only time that has not been true was like this regular season this year when we do have like the super team, and we finally like were able to survive the non-Tatum minutes, but like we've never been able to survive the non-Tatum minutes. And today, and like now they're a little better, but even tonight, in a night where everybody's playing well, you need him to be the guy, because as good as Jaylen is, I don't know, man. I don't even want to fucking say a negative thing about Jaylen, because I'm starting to believe that Jaylen's capable of all kinds of shit. But
yeah,
like,
dude, he is.
Jayson Tatum, yeah, he is.
He just is.
And Tatum is like, we need him to be the guy to break things down, because they're showing so much help and he's making these plays. If they're not showing this help, then he's just going to finish at the rim. But so, like, the impact is the word. He just, every night in the playoffs, there's a reason he's fucking leading the team in plus minus night in, night out. It's because when he's out there, the Celtics win.
What do you think of Luka in this game? He obviously was inefficient and kind of like the key victim of the Celtics' defensive game plan. What do you think his performance? It seemed like he looked kind of hurt during stretches of this game, but past the point where I thought he looked his most hurt, he then hit some like crazy step back threes and had some crazy individual plays. So it's so hard to determine A, like what his health level is, and B, how much does that impact his overall gameplay. It was kind of a strange Luka game. What do you think of this one, Jake?
Yeah. Kind of oscillating between like, holy shit, there's nothing you can do about this guy, and like, we guarded this guy really well. And the knee's a problem. He's got a knee sprain. That's just not going to heal until the offseason. And so, but Luka is just one of these guys that, like, I'm not sure there's anyone better at playing hurt than Luka, or playing tired than Luka, because he doesn't rely on explosiveness or athleticism to get shit done. So, I don't know, this was kind of like, he hit some crazy shots too, man. Like, he ends up 4 for 12 from 3. If he goes 5 for 12 from 3, he ends up like 41.7% from 3. Like, efficiency-wise, he was pretty good. He missed 3 free throws. That's kind of a Luka thing. He had the 4 turnovers. I mean, the stat for Luka tonight is 1 assist. I would love to know. I don't know if you have it, but like, when's the last time Luka had 1 assist? That's an absurd.
I don't know if he's ever had.
I was just throwing out to
assists.
Yeah, like, that's crazy, and that's the game plan. And we'll see, because he is an all-time offensive player already at this age in his career. What is he going to come back with? Is he going to watch the film and be like, I know what they're trying to do. They're daring me to score 60. And is he going to come out and try and score 60? As opposed to, like, he felt like he was kind of caught in between trying to, get his points, but also, he's an incredible passer, incredible playmaker. He wants to, and this year more than any other year, he has, been a more egalitarian as opposed to heliocentric offense in years past. Still very, very, very Luka heavy, but just relative to years past. So it's like, that was kind of, felt like he was caught a little bit in between what he like scoring and trying to force it to role players when the Celtics were staying home on all the role players and the lobs and stuff like that. Yeah. So does he just come out and be like, I'm going to force you to adjust. I'm going to come out like in game 5 of the Timberwolves series and go for 20 in the first quarter. So, like, because he's obviously capable of that. That would be the adjustment. Is like, okay, how you going to play me? I'm going to rip your heart out myself.
Yeah, so just quickly on the low assist game. So he's had 3 0-assist games, the most recent one in January of 2023, and he's had 3 1-assist games, 2018, 2019, and then most recently in 2021. Career. Yeah, so very seldom does he get held to so few assists, and we did this to him in the NBA Finals. And yeah, you take away that lob threat, you take away the corner 3, that's how he gets his assists. That's how he ends up with 1 assist in an NBA Finals game. 1 assist, not plural. Apologies. But yeah, I mean, so you forced him to come out and cook from a scoring perspective, that's when you're like, okay, how bad is the knee? Like, how capable are you of putting up like 50 is maybe what it's going to take, especially if we continue to nullify Kyrie the way we did in game one. How capable are you of that kind of a scoring punch, given your limited physical capacity, is a question that you would ask of a normal human being, but we're dealing with Luka Dončić, so we just don't know what the answer is. But dude, next few days, we just get to hover around in this cloud of joy, being up 1-0 in the NBA Finals, listening to all the podcasts, the entire NBA podcasting / content making world is focused on our Boston Celtics, and we just get to just like bathe in the juices of the victory.
Well, so I have a theory. I have not a concern, a theory, whatever. How much of the content is going to be Celtics went up big, they almost pissed away a lead, and that's going to be the story. That's going to be like the Celtics, they almost shut their pants a little bit.
Yeah.
That'll sell, right? Like, I think that there's still going to be an element of that. I'm very interested to see, because like all the odds and everything, all the numbers point towards the Celtics just being like the clearly better team. And we saw it tonight. It's crazy how much like everything that everyone talked about from an X's and O's standpoint played out exactly the way that people talked about tonight. Like very rare. I don't know if that's common or not. I feel like it's rare where it's like, this is how things should go, and this is how things did go. Like, it went exactly how it was supposed to go tonight from like a game planning perspective, which I think is a good thing. Obviously, it's like, okay, these are the strengths, these are the weaknesses the Celtics have, and we have more strengths. This is going back to this is a good matchup. This is a good matchup for the Celtics, and I think there's room for improvement too. Like, the Celtics shot 38% from three. It's not like they went scorched earth. Like, even in the first half, they went 41% from three, which is good, obviously. But it's not like they had like a 55%, 3-point shooting half. You're damn right, Sea-Dog. I am a damn kangaroo. Shout out. Well, thanks for joining us.
We are.
It's 3:30 p.m. in Australia. Yeah, that's right.
Well, whatever we need to be for the Celtics to win the title. That's what we're trying to manifest as every single day. But yeah, I mean, to me, just looking at the box score again, it just comes back to KP, where it's like, if he's just going to rock up after that long and just be that effective, and now we're saying, like, okay, he made it through, he's going to be even better conditioned for game 2, and he's hypothetically going to be even better. And look, if they send 2 at him in the post, which I think is a maybe a necessary adjustment,
they can't.
We can pass out of that. So, like, what do you do if you're the Mavericks? But we talked about KP, so I don't want to go too much back into that, but I feel like in the time that we've got left. Sorry, go ahead. You got a point?
No, there's one. I just realized there's one person we haven't talked about.
There's still so many to go.
Horford.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and many more after that.
Well, Derek, I mean, you're right. There's more, but like
everyone was awesome.
He's the fucking man, dude. He's the fucking man. Like, KP can't do what he did tonight. We can't be where we are tonight without Al Horford. It's always an Al Horford series. And again, tonight, he was fantastic. Switching, drop, help, 10 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 blocks, 0 turnovers, 0 fouls. The man's perfect.
He really is. Off the bench as well, man. Like, welcome back to the bench, Al Horford. Like, just so effective.
Well, actually, good question. What do we think in game 2?
He started. Apologies.
Yeah.
I'm already viewing. Yeah. I guess in terms of what I mean by that, obviously that's completely wrong. Sorry, but impact wise, he was secondary to Kristaps Porzingis in terms of his impact on the game. And obviously we got to see his minutes reduced as well with Kristaps Porzingis being so effective off the bench. But going into game 2. I kind of take the approach of why fix it if it ain't broke, Jake. Like that worked quite well. You gave KP an opportunity to kind of, I imagine, I'm obviously not there, but to get a sense of the moment, the feeling of the moment before checking in on the court. And that worked out quite well. Al Horford, he's got the experience. He knows what he's doing. He's in rhythm with the rest of the starting lineup, having played with them all playoffs now. KP was great. But he was great in that capacity coming off the bench. So why would you deviate from that now?
Yeah, I think stick with it. Because Al Horford, they've built this rhythm through the playoffs with Al Horford in the starting lineup. I'm not really fussed either way, to be honest. If they decide to go to KP in the starting lineup, sure. But I do like the idea of like, obviously the starting lineup is incredible. And then, you play Al Horford and all these guys, you play it even, you go up 2, you go down 4, or whatever it may be. And then KP comes in. It's like, oh shit, here comes the atomic Latvian weapon. And here we go.
Yeah, man. Drew Holiday and Derek White were awesome. It kind of feels sinful to only be just talking about them now as we start to wrap up the show.
I'm sorry.
But I guess I touched on Derek White earlier as far as his role in the offense. And, the Mavs have to help off somebody, and Derek White was the beneficiary there early and knocked down those early threes. Only finished 3 of 8, still just under 38%, not bad at all. But his early knocking down of those threes really opened things up offensively for the Celtics. And then Drew Holiday, he was kind of everywhere tonight as well. And maybe, with KP back, receded into the shadows a little bit as far as his obvious box score level impact, but defensively he was incredible. He had a lot of the matchup time on Kyrie Irving in this game, and it was a huge part of the Celtics shutting him down. And then he did have a few sequences where he picked up Luka Dončić, and we did a rewatch of that early March game against the Mavs a few days back on playback, Jake, and there were a few possessions where Luka was kind of walking Drew down to the bucket and scoring on him. We didn't see that as much in this one, and in that third quarter stretch after they reduced the lead to 8, there was actually a stretch where Drew picked up Luka on a few straight possessions, and we forced turnovers, I think, on all of those possessions. And a huge part of that was not so much Drew being a counterbalance to Luka from a weight and strength capacity, but like getting up under him, forcing him out of balance, and like kind of getting up and disrupting his dribble. That kind of disruption was a different defensive look for Luka in that moment. It was just discombobulating enough to throw him off his game for a small stretch and turn things back around in favor for the Celtics. So I thought that was a really important stretch in the third quarter there. But Drew, obviously, throughout the stretch of the game, it's difficult to fault really anything from Derek or Drew in this one.
Man, the most underrated, under-talked about aspect of this matchup in all the listening that I did in the past 9 days was Drew Holiday and Derek White. And it's like, yeah, Kyrie, Luka, JT. Derek White, Drew Holiday, compared to Derek Jones Jr. and PJ Washington, just completely different level of impact. And they showed that tonight. We got comments in the chat here from Duke22. JB is a dog. Drew oozes winning basketball. Like, Drew, ended up leading the team, plus 20. Like, he was fantastic. He had another very, very, very clutch offensive rebound. It's been like one of my favorite things in the postseason has been his clutch offensive rebounding when the Mavs were trying to make a run and get back in the game. Just so solid, man. And I think, again, Drew looked a little uncomfortable to me at times, passed up a couple of good looks. And again, like, I think this is good. Is like there feels like there's wiggle room. There feels like there's stuff to work with here. Like, I think they're going to go back and look at the tape and be like, we can be better, which is great. I don't think they played a perfect game. I don't think they had an outlier game. Like, Derek White and Drew, obviously they shot pretty well, but like, there's going to be a night where they just go classic stock exchange where they combine for like 12 for 19 or something like that. And you just can't beat the Celtics when they do that. And this is going back to just the overall Celtics, experience this year. It's the team. It's the team. Everyone is doing their part tonight, and today was like a perfect example of why the Celtics can win the NBA championship. It's like everybody buying into their role, doing what's necessary to get the win.
I'm looking at the shot profile on Cleaning the Glass, and it almost like precisely mirrors that of the Pacers in that previous series, where it's like the majority of their shots are coming from mid-range and specifically long mid-range, and then there's just like nothing coming from three, and especially corner three as well, which we've touched on. So the fact that so closely resembles our previous like two opponents, because if I recall correctly, the Cavs shot to that was very similar as well, says a lot about the Celtics' defensive consistency and game plan, no matter who the opponent is, including when you're coming up against like world tier players like Luka Dončić. But yeah, shout out to the stock exchange. Obviously a huge part of what we do defensively. I guess we need to wrap up here, Jake. A lot more content to come from us as we progress through the finals here. Any other final takeaways before we wrap this one up?
Peyton Pritchard impressed. Like, despite going 0 for 7, like, really fucking fought his ass off. Like, there was one play, like, he had Luka, like, contained-ish, but Derek saw him in trouble, but, like, Derek double-teamed, but in a way where he double-teamed as Luka had started to turn the corner and got a steal and went back the other way in that end of the game. Like, that was one of my favorite plays of the game. So, question from C-Dog here. What adjustments do you expect Dallas to make? This is tough, man. I'm not really sure adjustment wise. You do. I think the adjustment is Luka has to just accept the way that the Celtics are playing him and look to go for 50 and try and get the Celtics to adjust. Can you get the Celtics to blink in a game? You know, and also just like do the Mavs get a little hot earlier? Some of those above the break threes, so they go in. I didn't think Kyrie was not engaged or aggressive. The adjustment is just sometimes just play better. Like, can Kyrie play better? He was 6 for 19, not good tonight. Can he come out and be the second banana? Like, adjustments, sure. Be more aggressive for you, Luka Dončić. But, like, maybe you don't quite sell out as much on Tatum drives. Mm-hmm. But, like, he's beating people to the rim, and if they're not going to sell out, then he's going to score at the rim. So, but maybe that's what you want to do. You cut down like 42 3-point attempts. All of our opponents so far have tried to like cut our 3-point attempts down. Like, this actually might be up there with the amount of 3-point attempts we've had in the playoffs so far.
So.
Yeah, and so that's probably one of the adjustments.
Yes. Yeah, I think it's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't thing for the Mavs there. If they run us off the 3-point line, like we were getting into the paint anyway, then we're really going to get into the paint. Then their defense is going to kind of have to collapse anyway, and then we're going to kick the ball out again for more threes. So I don't really see how I think maybe to that degree the Mavs have to somewhat, and this sounds folly in the NBA Finals, but like rely on shooting variance there a little bit rather than just completely run us off the 3-point line. Offensively for the Mavs, like they obviously need to reposition their corner shooters. Like if they're not going to get any sort of offensive productivity out of them, like can they cut back door for easy buckets that way? Can they come up closer to the wing, closer to the elbow and get looks from there? Because if we're just completely nerfing those passing lanes out to the corner, then like they're essentially useless positioned that way offensively. So I'd expect them to have different formations offensively from that perspective. But this is one where like I'm excited to go and rewatch the game and to answer those questions in my mind. Like how will we adjust? How will they adjust? And how will we proactively adjust to what their adjustments might be and vice versa? That's like when you're just super nerdy like hoops fan, like that's the most fun. Is like, okay, now I'm going to really watch the game and really try and figure out what happened and what's going to happen next.
Just keep being the best team in the league.
That would be nice. And like, oh, dude, if they go up 2-0 at home and we have that sort of formula ahead of us, like not to get too ahead of myself, but it's like, then you go win one on the road.
Hey,
you come home
just
for
win
game
one.
5. Like,
just win one tomorrow. Just win one. Just win one. Win game 2, man. Go out and win one home game. Just win one.
Not to get
Just go
excited.
win one.
It's hard not to get excited. So we'll leave it there for now. That is going to do it for this one. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to be back here live on YouTube the day before Game 2 with our Game 2 preview, talking Game 2 adjustments, a little bit of an expanded version of what we just did, as well as expectations and predictions. And then, of course, during Game 2, you can watch along with us on playback at playback.tv/CelticsBlog. And then join us here after the game for multiple live shows, including our instant reaction shows and, of course, this Celtics late night. Going to be a lot of fun on this channel all throughout the finals. So much that you should subscribe and like if you haven't already. Jake Eisenberg, love your work, man. Until next time, go Celtics.